Hey guys, welcome back to the Max Spence Business Podcast. Today I have a very special guest, but before I jump into that, if you guys like the content I'm putting out, the people I'm interviewing, please like, subscribe, leave a review. It helps out a ton with the podcast and also the people that are coming on the show. If you can go over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review, that helps out a ton as well. So without further ado, today's guest is Derek Isaac. So he is a business success coach who helps small business owners create new levels of profit and freedom through the R&R system. It's great having you on the show, Derek.
Thanks. Glad to be here, Max.
Awesome. So why don't we jump into a little intro about, who you are for people maybe that don't know who you are and sort of what got you into the business and coaching area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I have about 15 years of entrepreneurial experience that started with real estate pretty early on. I've always been in the constructions and trades industry. So pretty much, bought my first house. It was a really cheap house, ended up fixing it up, selling it, dividing the land that it was also on. And from there, just kind of rinse and repeat, bought some rentals. So I had some real estate, and then I started a construction company about 10 years ago or so, and then slowly grew that construction company into general contracting. I did tons of renovations, built some houses, multifamily units, things like that. And then about 2 years ago, I started coaching some small business owners in my network, just as a way to kind of help them with their businesses and impart some of my experience. And from there, I've slowly kind of transitioned into my coaching practice, which is helping small businesses. And the big keys are profit and freedom. So making sure the business is profitable, it's churning a profit, and that the business owner isn't, overwhelmed and just spending way too much time in their business and not enough time, enjoying their life and being with, the friends and family and stuff like that.
Okay, awesome. So like that, yeah. So you've covered a lot there, like real estate, the builders, and then getting into coaching. Just quickly, what sort of made you do the jump from being a real estate investor and construction company owner into doing the coaching? Was it something that you always sort of had planned and you really like teaching, or was it something that you just sort of noticed that you're like, actually, this makes me a lot more happier to do this and help others achieve their goals?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a combination of things. So with any business owner and real estate investor knows there's a lot of work, there's a lot of challenges starting and running a business, especially for the first time. And it was just a sort of a progression. I always knew that I wanted to be in a leadership position. I'm good at teaching, and at first it was just kind of pro bono. I was helping some small business owners, and it kind of, from their feedback, it made me realize all the knowledge and the things that I've learned through the years. And it's something that I really enjoyed, is very fulfilling. And as well, me and my wife are, we want to be able to move at some point. So having my bricks and mortar business, it didn't, like with my life goals of moving and traveling, this helped in that situation as well, because I can have an online business and essentially help people from anywhere, depending on where we're planning on moving. So.
Oh, okay, awesome. Okay, yeah, that makes actually a lot of sense now. Like you and your wife, you want to move or travel. Where do you want to move or travel to?
Yeah, so multiple places. She's from Spain, so we're planning a trip to Spain, although not sure if we'll move there. We've also talked about New Zealand and then British Columbia, Canada. We were out there this year, and I love it out there, the mountains and the ocean and everything. So probably that's kind of like the top of the list. But we may end up spending a year, or depending on what happens, or we got married this last summer, and planning on having a family, in the near future. So want to do a bit of traveling before things get more complicated, I guess.
True. Okay, awesome. So yeah, that's very smart, and that's the majority of like probably a lot of people's goals, right? Is to have an online business, be able to work anywhere and travel the world, which is like, being able to go to all these different places and then being able to live everywhere. Okay, awesome. So with your business coaching, do you are you more specialized into coaching like real estate agents, or are you broad, or are you more broad and you can just take what you've learned in being an entrepreneur, the basics of that, the basics of marketing, running a business, hiring people, and then you just like pretty much coach that to anybody when they start a business, like when they're starting a business or they just started a business.
Mhm. Yeah. So as far as my coaching goes, I mean, the skills set that I have and the like trainings and videos and different things, materials that are available to my clients are useful for anybody in a business sense. So that could be salespeople, real estate agents, um, online businesses. Although my ideal clients that I coach through my 3-month coaching program is generally specifically small business owners doing usually under 500K per year who have been in business for 1 to 5 years in a service-based business. Now, I've worked with salespeople, I've worked with um, product companies, but generally service-based companies doing under 500K per year in business for 1 to 5 years. That's like those are the people that I help the most, and my target client.
Okay, awesome. So,
Mhm.
like that's amazing. So now I want to jump a little bit to pretty much your background in the real estate world, just to because the majority like another thing is like a lot of my guests are interested in real estate as well. So just to hear on that
Mhm.
briefly, the residential construction industry and how you got into that, and why did you get into residential construction?
Yeah, it's something that came naturally to me. I grew up in the country. My dad had a bee farm. We made honey. So, hard work, working with my hands, it's something that came naturally to me. And when I entered the job market, construction was just something that was available. I was good at. I quickly moved up to leading a crew of builders of like framing carpentry, and then from there is just a natural transition into starting my own business as a subcontractor, getting into renovations, and slowly kind of just moving up and growing from there. And then being an entrepreneur, I got connected with some real estate investors, and with my background of construction, it was a good fit. I ended up partnering with someone and moved into doing some flip houses, as well as some getting some rentals and stuff like that.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so you pretty much the trajectory of it was like you started on a crew and then you moved up to then be like running the crew, and then you pretty much started your own business, and then you started doing the renovations. Yeah, that's pretty interesting, and a lot of like for some contractors, like I see that some of them will specialize into like, let's say, just doing like renovations for houses.
Mhm.
And then did you go into like full like ground up construction of building like residential, like let's say townhouses or like multifamily, like a
Mhm.
fourplex or a fiveplex or 20-unit building?
Yeah. So with my business that I had, I did primarily renovations. We did some larger additions as well, which is like foundation up, excavation to turnkey. And I also managed with another company as a construction manager, and with that company, it was a larger home builder. I managed new home builds as well as some multifamily builds as well. We did townhouses and yeah, like 10 to 14 unit buildings.
Oh, okay, awesome. And
Yeah.
then from that experience, looking back on that sort of that career and lifetime, like what did you sort of see? Like, what did you like the most, and what was the most profitable for you?
hmm the challenge is something I always enjoyed. Pushing myself. I love learning. Learning is a big part of my life. So that I, that's another reason I was attracted to business, because there's always so much to learn. I'm always reading new books, learning from people, checking out online courses and podcasts, stuff like this. And so yeah, it was just natural to kind of move into that. I love the challenge and the connecting with people. I mean, business is just it's a wonderful thing. You get to improve yourself through personal development. You get to learn tons. You get to connect with awesome people. I love connecting with people on social media. Now it's a lot more of this, on video calls, because everything's kind of closed down for COVID. But yeah, connecting with people in person, going for coffee, going for lunch, stuff like that. All the networking events. There's a lot to enjoy about it.
Okay, awesome, awesome. And then pretty much from there, you just like you're saying that the reason you jumped into the business was that you wanted to travel more. Was that switch hard to do? Like, did you continue to run your business while you were starting this one, or did you just sort of cut it, like, just cut it right away and sold the business, or like how did that sort of transition happen?
Yeah. So I ended up closing the business because I did run into some financial hard times with that, and some investing that I did. So the business didn't make sense to continue. I was overwhelmed, overstressed, kind of wasn't. I was doing too much and not watching what was important. And it came to the point where I made the realization that this is not something I want to continue with. So I ended up closing the business, and it gave me that freedom, that's kind of a fresh start, fresh look at my life. And from there, at the time I was already doing some coaching for small business owners, like I had said, within my network. So that was sort of a natural progression from there. And then I love learning, so that transitioned me into kind of starting to produce content online and building my first online course, which I sold. And now through that experience, I can help business owners. Like, that's why I'm big on profit and freedom, making sure the business is profitable and making sure that business owners aren't wearing themselves thin and getting worn out, because it's just going to create disaster for a business when you're pushing yourself too hard and not enjoying the life that you want, right? You don't need to wait 2 or 5 years till your business is big. You can enjoy your life now and still grow a very profitable business quickly.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So to now jump into that in more detail, because like a lot of people, when they first start a business or they don't have much entrepreneurship experience, they always hear it's like, entrepreneurship is like 24/7. You just have to be run, and like work yourself like crazy. But like, if you think about it, like a lot of the most successful entrepreneurs don't actually do that. Like, yeah, they're very productive and they work a lot, but they're not like, working 24/7. You look at, like, let's say Jeff Bezos or somebody like that. Like he works hard, but to get to like sort of like that net worth, it's not actually comes from hard work. It comes from smart decisions that you've made with your business, right? And putting in smart systems. So to talk about that in more detail, the profit and then freedom, what have you seen what have you seen that has the best effect for that? Is that like systemizing your business more, like by having like more online systems or whatever you use to just systemize things, bringing in the right people? Like what have you sort of what have you sort of seen?
Yeah, 100%. So the first thing is profit. So one of the first places that with a business is we'll look at the accounting, the numbers, the bookkeeping, making sure that they're keeping proper bookkeeping and that their numbers are up to date so that they can be making proper financial decisions. So that's a big thing. A lot of new business owners kind of neglect their books and their accounting because they think if I just sell more, I'll make more money. You'll make more revenue, but it doesn't mean you'll make more money. So that's one thing. For the freedom side, exactly what you said with systems. So we start implementing systems. I have templates for different business systems, everything from hiring, onboarding to managing employees. So that whole HR system. Sales systems are big. So making sure that you have a regular daily system that's generating leads, marketing, branding, that you're attracting the right types of clients. That's another thing. You're not wasting your time with clients that aren't ideal for your business or you aren't in a position to help properly. You don't want to be taking on work just to make money if it's not somebody that you aren't able to help well. Also, it's hard to systematize a business when your clients are all over the place. So when you narrow your field, your niche, then you have kind of a specific client that you help, and you can create a really great system that can help exactly that person. So a lot of it is just kind of narrowing the focus of the business, implementing systems to make sure that you're not using your time on stuff that's repetitive that you could easily create a system for. And then 80-20 principle is big too. So looking at the top 20% of clients, looking at the top 20% best use of your time, really putting your business through the 80-20 lens of what are the top priorities, what are the top tasks, and then kind of eliminating or delegating, removing the unnecessary stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, and that's all great advice. And one thing that I've sort of heard a lot is like, for business. So what you're pretty much trying to do is like you narrow down and create a wheel. Like this is just like you create a wheel for that business, and you try to make it spin as fast as you can, right? So it's like you create your and then you try and run, like once you have your system created for that niche down product or service, and then you try and run as many clients, with helping them. That's the key thing, is like you don't want to be turning out a crap product or a crap service, right? It's like by helping them, but making that spin as fast as possible. So now to go on a little bit more in detail with that, like where do you sort of see businesses failing when they first start up and they don't have much entrepreneur experience?
Yeah, I think business owners are naturally optimistic. I am as well. So there's often, without the experience of going through starting a business and running a business, it seems really daunting for them, or it seems like easy because they've done the technical work, but they haven't done the managing or the entrepreneurial work. So often you'll have someone who's good at their trade, or maybe they're good at copywriting or building websites. They're good at what they do, but they're not good at the sales, the marketing, the business systems. So there's a lot of stumbling blocks there, a lot of challenges to getting a business up and running. Places where I find they make mistakes is they spend too much time on things that aren't, too much time working in their business and not on their business. It's important to work in the business at the beginning because you need to generate revenue and not have too much overhead. But staying there too long is you're going to limit out and you're going to run yourself thin. So doing too much is a big one, even for experienced entrepreneurs, because we love to push ourselves to get results. But doing too much has a negative effect. And then numbers, like I mentioned before, is not doing proper bookkeeping, proper accounting, and really understanding what the numbers mean, and making sure that the business is profitable and the business is working for the business owner, not the business owner is working for the business. If you're working just to keep the lights on, just to keep the thing rolling, just to try to get that next sale, you're setting yourself up for disaster. The business should be functioning, like you said, like a loop, like a wheel, where it's supporting the business owner, and the business owner is able to have some time to work on the business, to see the big picture, instead of just trying to take care of all the little fires, or helping the client, like too many clients and stuff like that.
Yeah. And with that, like if you're just working in the business and you're not working on the business, pretty much what you've done is you've just switched your previous job for just another job, right? Like you're not running a business, actually, you're just in a job, right? Because you're not, like, a business is somewhere where it's like, there's systems, there's people, like you have the freedom to make decisions with that business to increase it. If you're just working in the business consistently, and like you're saying, it's just burning yourself out because you're working like say 15-hour days or 16-hour days, or like 7 or 6 days a week, you're not gonna have time to really focus on adding those systems and systematizing and bringing the right people in, and you're just pretty much going to burn out and fail. So now jumping to I want to jump to now is pretty much like I saw something that was really interesting on your page, was like the best employee and how do you create it. So like, can you talk about that in more detail, of like how to find good employees? One thing I did hear that was really interesting, what you said was like everybody has the criteria for their client, like what's the perfect client, like what demographic are we shooting for, like what client do we want, right? But not many people have that same sort of like in-depth sort of idea of what they want with also the employee as well. So can you actually jump into more detail about that?
Yeah, that was an aha moment for me, was when I realized, we're creating that perfect client and figuring out who we serve and how we help them. But we don't do that. I don't think I've talked to any business owners that actually do that in-depth type of work for their employees, where for me, it was a crew manager position. So I had a crew manager, a foreman that he was very loyal. He was a great guy. He'd been in my business for 2 or 3 years at the time, and I realized, like, if I could double him when I started another crew, that would be perfect. So it just made sense. Like, why wouldn't I create an avatar for him? So, he was a family guy. He had this much experience. This was his background. You can go into the different demographics and things like that. So I created that avatar, and then I produced a help wanted ad specifically geared towards someone. I'm looking for someone with this experience in this position, this type of person with this type of mindset and mentality, who's been at companies for this amount of time. And of course, I got much less applications, but the applications I got were much better quality. And then I ended up hiring someone who I was like surprised how much they reminded me of my other foreman. It was incredible. Definitely not the same, but it was like, wow, like I couldn't believe that worked out so well. Ended up hiring them, and they actually turned out to be like the best employee I had ever hired. They worked out well. They were loyal to the company, very good with communication, very good with managing people, great experience to do the job. And yeah, so that was the process that I used. As far as the interviewing process, again, I have a template that lists different scoring characteristics in different areas of values and skills and stuff like that. So that is something else that's been very helpful with hiring employees, because a lot of people hire on intuition of whether they like somebody, but we ended up hiring people that we kind of are similar to us, because we tend to like people that are similar to us. And when you have a scoring system, it's not to be judging, it's just to give yourself kind of a third person view of the different skill sets and what that person brings to the table. And then you still use your intuition as far as, if you think this person is a good fit, but you have much better information if you're actually scoring them in the different areas. And then you can take a step back and see, okay, overall this person didn't quite reach, the level that I was looking for, or maybe they exceeded it. And I didn't get the great feeling, but they seemed like they would be awesome. So.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know, like that's actually really smart to have a system like that, that you can like score them. So even if like you really like the person, but then if you go back when you're analyzing it,
Yeah.
you can actually be like, oh well, actually, yeah, the person's like really good with communication, and like I really like them, but what I got from from like their work experience, they don't really have that much experience in this, and they don't have the right qualifications. So this person probably, like, even though I like them, they might not be the right fit for actually being able to produce what I need them to produce in that sort of role. So now, and
yeah,
you want to add
I'm
something?
just going to add one other thing that helped me with hiring as well is when I did have, like, I got my, different candidates that came in, and then I would reach out to them. I did a quick 10 to 15 minute call with them before I booked an interview. So I would do like a 10 or 15 minute call, and then you go through the deal breakers. So if there's anything that for any reason you wouldn't hire someone, you want to run through those questions, get an initial kind of feel for them, how they communicate, do they call on time or answer the phone when you called, and then you can, instead of scheduling a 1 hour time session with them and then realizing 5 minutes into the session this is not the person I want to hire, you can do a quick 5-10 minute phone call, get a feeling for them, and then set up an actual 1 hour video interview from there. So
yeah, no, that's actually really smart as well, is like actually the pre-screening, right, to make sure that you're not going to hop on a call for an hour and be like, oh well, this is this isn't really going anywhere, and you just cover the deal breakers, so then it frees up more time. Now I want to talk to now I want to talk about bridging between goals and achievement, right? Like a lot of people will have goals, like let's say they want to run a marathon, or they want to start a business, or they want to hit a certain profit for their business. How do you sort of bridge that gap between actually having a goal and then actually achieving it?
Yeah, the first thing with goals is to get really clear, to picture it in your mind and pretty much map it out, write it out, make sure you're clear on the goal. And then to get to the achievement, it's really about setting up small steps, and creating that plan, getting clear on that. And then daily habits are huge. So having a daily habit of taking small steps at a time to reach your achievements um, is kind of the biggest thing. And then, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, but making sure that you're focused on your achievement every day. It's easy to get sidetracked. It's easy for things to come up and they seem important, but you need to put it through the lens of, is this like my one thing? Is this the big achievement that I want to get? So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, no, yeah. So like what I've heard on that a lot is like, I heard a great TED talk by this guy, and pretty much what he did is like, there's like two things that I've sort of seen, and you actually said it, was like making sure you want to actually achieve this goal. So does it really matter to you? Because otherwise, if you're just trying to hit a goal because it sounds cool to do, but you actually really like internally don't care about it that much, you're not going to be able to hit it because you're not going to be able to sit down and do the work. So that's the first thing, is making sure that you really want to hit that goal. And then another thing you said was actually breaking it down into daily tasks. And that's what the guy said on the TED talk, is pretty much what, and he's like very, I can't remember his name, but it was a really good TED talk. And the guy's like, he was a hedge fund manager, but he did all this like crazy stuff. Like the guy like learned how to speak German, and then like he started knitting, and then he learned how to fly planes, and then he learned how to hike all over California, a whole bunch of other stuff. But what he did and what he talked about was he just took these big goals, right, that he had, and he just broke them down into the simplest sort of form, or like the simplest process that you can do, and just consistently did them, right? So it wasn't that's one thing I do want to ask you on a little bit later into the podcast, is just about how, because I believe you read 60 books last year.
Yeah.
Or like 50 to 60 books. Yeah. So like he did the exact same thing, but what he broke it down to a system of pretty much, instead of being like, oh, I got to read 60 books, it's like, no, I have to read, 5 words or like 3 pages or 4 pages a day to actually hit that. And as long as I do that, then I'll be good. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's what I really liked about the goal setting and achievement. And you also, another thing too is talking about habits. I want to talk about that a little bit more in depth. And I know we only have a little bit more time, but just talking about habits quickly. How do you create good habits? And that's one thing that I've sort of been interested in recently. And that's a book that I'm actually going to get, is I believe it's called the Habits, and then his other book is Atomic Habits. I don't know if you've heard of it. Yeah. So talking about that quickly.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I've got some time to go through it. Learning's big for me. My first online course is actually speed reading course. And that's how I read 60 books a year. And I read about 30 minutes to an hour each day. And Atomic Habits, really great book. One of the better books I read last year. I'd probably put it in the top 3 of the 60 books that I read last year. Atomic Habits would be a really good one to read. And what I got out of the Atomic Habits book that I implemented is habit stacking. So when you want to start a new habit, stack it onto another habit. So if you want to start reading every day, if you're not a regular reader, stack that habit onto another habit that you're already doing. So depending what you do in the morning, but maybe if you wake up and you get yourself a coffee or a tea or something like that, after that is that you read maybe 5 pages of starts, and then you can go up from there. If that you're trying to implement is really hard, you're not going to stick with it. So make sure that the habit is small to start, and link it with something else. Or you could, like, maybe when you're done your day, you eat your dinner, or maybe just after lunch, you read a couple pages in your book every day. So you're stacking that with something else. Something I do every morning is I write out my schedule for the day with what I'm going to be doing that day and kind of times that I'm allocating for it. And then after I write out my schedule for the day, I write out 3 things that I'm grateful for. And that's a habit that I stack. I'm already doing my schedule every day. And then afterwards, I just take like 5 minutes or a couple minutes to write out a few things that I'm grateful for. And that way, every time I look at my schedule, I see, something I'm grateful for. And it's easy. It was an easy habit to make because I'm already doing something similar with writing. I just stack the other habit on top of it. But yeah, that's a great book. There's tons of knowledge in there. Big one is, starting small and the habit stacking. Those are the 2 big takeaways for me.
Okay, awesome, awesome. And then talking about the other books you read, what was the other top two that you'd say that really helped? Were they
Yeah.
business related or were they on something else?
Most of the books I read are nonfiction, business related. Um, the, Either technical books or more mindset books. The two big ones that stand out were both more on mindset because they help me sort of reach a different level or a new understanding of myself and where I'm at, kind of conceptually. And the one of the books was The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. A really great book. It's about kind of getting past your threshold and taking that big leap into your zone of genius. So everybody has their zone of excellence where they're really good at something and they like to stay there because they're good at it. They're an expert, but it's not necessarily the thing that gives them their fulfillment or is using their skills or abilities to their highest level. So the book's about taking that leap from your zone of excellence to your zone of genius. And then the other book was Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And that is by, it's a doctor. I can't remember the name right now. But it's a bit of a different kind of book. It's a little bit out there with some of the concepts, but I found it really impactful and very useful. So those, along with Atomic Habits, would probably be my top three that I can think of right now. Um, and yeah.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Yeah, well, I was just writing them down because after this podcast, I want to go check out some of those books.
Mhm.
But
And I do have a YouTube channel with interviews of people talking about these books. So I know some people, it's really hard for them to read text. So if you prefer like audio or visual, there are summaries online from other people on YouTube, as well as audiobooks are great. For people, especially if you're a real estate agent, you drive around a lot of the day. Audiobooks are awesome. So
awesome, awesome.
mhm.
And then my last question before we go here is another interesting video that I saw on your LinkedIn page was how to stay on task and stop procrastination. What sort of habits or other like sort of little tips and tricks do you use to sort of stop that and sort of just get things going?
Yeah, for sure. So with that video, I think the big thing that I was presenting there is I have a program to do this, but you can use a spreadsheet or a document or there's different things. But essentially, throughout the day, I stay really focused on the task. Like I said, I map out what I'm going to do for the day, and I chunk my time. And then during that time, I stay focused on that task until it's done. Obviously that's easy to say, it's not always easy to do. With you get a phone call or messages, or you get lazy or distracted on social media or the internet or whatever. So what I do is whenever I have an idea, I just drop it into this program. You could put it on a paper or in a document. So if I have an idea for a post, or I have an idea, I need to follow up with so and so to give them some information, I'll just drop that idea into my program. And then the next day I can go through it, and then I can kind of schedule those things into my calendar, or I can put them in, a list that I have of ideas or whatever. And this way, when something comes up, you have an idea, you get in the habit of just kind of putting it somewhere, writing it down, kind of throwing it away, and staying on task. That's one thing that really helps productivity a lot. And then just planning your day, scheduling your time. Taking 5 minutes to plan your day will easily save you an hour, if not more, in your day. So
True, true. And actually the one thing I really like about that was actually saying like you take, because that's one thing I've noticed and I've become more conscious of is like I'll be doing something, let's say with my podcast or editing, then I'll get I'll have a thought like, oh, I need to actually, this would be a great post or something like this one bit of the podcast. And then it's like, then I find myself jumping between 3 and 4 things and you never really finish anything because it's like, or it just takes a lot longer to finish it because you're jumping between 3 and 4 things instead of just being like, you know what, put that to the side right now. I've created a habit of every single idea or something, a thought I have, put it aside, put it in write it down or put it in your thing. In your phone, and then finish that task. And then let's say if you have other tasks, complete those tasks. And then like you're saying, is like going on the next day and scheduling those into time blocks and stuff, which I think is going to be really, really efficient. So we're coming to the end here. Is there anything you want to add, like anything else that was top of mind that you wanted to talk about quickly before we wrap up here?
Hmm. I think the big thing is to take some time, have some fun, check your mental health, especially nowadays with everything that's going on. We're a lot more closed in. Connect with people. I I was in a mastermind yesterday with a group, and they're all high level achievers, and a lot of them were struggling with like accountability and overwhelm, just doing too much. We always, I think a lot of us can get caught up in that hustle mentality, and it's important to work hard. But the benefits of having some downtime, of enjoying yourself, making your work fun, will just make your day and your life that much better. So find some fun and enjoyment in your work, and don't work all the time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, where can people find out more about you and your courses and all that sort of good stuff?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So, like you mentioned, like I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I am on Instagram. Not super active on Instagram, but I have a Facebook group. But if you just search Derek Isaac in LinkedIn or Facebook, you can connect with me, and I have links on there to my Facebook group and some of the other content that I have. So that's the best way to get in touch and learn more about me.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Derek, for coming on the show.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Max. Appreciate it.